But first, the heavens may have opened up over the Greek capital, but the wet weather has failed to dampen spirits of thousands gathered for the latest protests there. This as Greek lawmakers are set to vote on legal changes that would clear the way for a debt restructuring, part of the latest bailout deal. The agreement means more sacrifices for the country, with almost a decade of painful cuts to come. Anti-austerity anger also mounting in other parts of the debt-ridden Eurozone, with tens of thousands of students protesting against education cuts in Spain. For more on this, I'm joined by Nick Skrekas, economic analyst and international attorney. So private creditors are expected to voluntarily take up to 70% losses under this debt restructuring plan. Why are they involved?
Matt, there are some very good reasons for them to be involved. As part of this second memorandum bailout, there are two aspects. The first is the $130 billion liquidity facility, basically loans, and the second is the reduction in about $103 billion worth of private sector bond holdings. That's necessary because Greek debt dynamics are anything but sustainable. So that has to be sliced off and reduced. It is a very large sum, and as you described, it probably really means about a loss of 74% for private investors. Why is it in their interest to participate? Well, if there is a messy default, they may get nothing. So it's better to take this deal. Secondly, there is a lot of pressure from sovereign states, the EU and central banks for them to go ahead and do this. And at the moment, there aren't that many better options if they go to the market and try to sell.
Now, Greece must reduce its debt by 120% of GDP by 2020. This means almost 10 years of belt-tightening for the country. What outcome do you predict, and will all the sacrifices finally bring relief?
Matt, it is a very tough call to reduce debt to GDP from about 170 to 120%. My estimate is that even in the best case scenario, it probably won't be better than 130%. However, that doesn't mean new rounds of austerity every year from now until 2020. It can be done very differently, and hopefully it will. What we really need is primary surpluses from this year on, so that the state is not effectively spending more than it collects. What we also need is very serious structural reforms to the tax system, to eliminate corruption, to eliminate bureaucracy, to simplify laws and provide stability so we can encourage the private sector. And importantly, there have to be some sensible privatizations, as well as the ability to attract capital from overseas. And the most critical, I think, is a new Marshall Plan, so we can kickstart the economy. Now, if all of those things happen, instead of focusing on dead-end austerity, which only crushes demand, crushes GDP, and results in a lesser ability for the state to service its debt, then we may have some positive results at the end of it all.
Now, Greece agreed to change its constitution and write into a law that debt servicing is the country's top priority and goes before any other need. Do you see that as a threat to the country's welfare at this time?
It's a bit of a threat to our sovereignty, yes, but we're not the only country doing that. There are many other Eurozone countries doing that at the moment, and it will be a little bit better for the stability of the whole Eurozone and does breed and inspire a little bit more confidence. Of course, the difficulty is that it's a bit of a fiscal straitjacket, in the sense that, yes, you have to service your foreign and domestic debt first, but that may sometimes mean that you may be sacrificing very critical things like the welfare of your citizens or even your ability to protect your territorial sovereignty. This, under international laws, is a little bit dubious. But of course, to change the Greek constitution and insert this, we need national elections first and a supermajority in parliament, and then an agreement amongst very many political parties. That isn't a done deal at the moment.
All right, Nick Skrekas, economic analyst and attorney, thanks very much for your insight.
Thank you.